Hope. I did have hope because I thought I was helping. It didn't help much when the probation officer came to my home and sat with my wife outside in the backyard and told her I was going to jail and be gone for at least 5 years. We at that time had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. Told her there was no way I was going to be able to get out of this. No way that the code said I was going to have to go because this, and this. I still had hope. I remember the day that my lawyer brought in a criminal defense attorney that they were now having to rely on because there's a lot of criminal stuff that you got to know the ropes on. And when they brought him in, we got into a conference room and he looked at me and he said, "You know, you'd probably be good being away from your old lady a year or two." Leaned back like that. And I said, "No, I wouldn't. I'm not doing that." So he went through the rest of the meeting, and then when he left, I told my lawyer, Steve, who's no longer with us, the guy that saved my life, I told Steve, I don't want to ever see that guy again. He's not here for the right reason. I got to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going with a plan. I've crossed the Rubicon, and I'm helping out, and I've got hope that things are going to turn out. On the last day, before I was to be sentenced, my attorney Steve tried to get in touch with the Justice Department lawyers who were prosecuting my case to ask them, would you guys not recommend prison time? Can you see what he didn't do? Can you see what a help he is to you? Apparently they had some heavy political pressure on them. They sent their letter to the judge recommending prison time for me. Judge saw through it. He was known as the hanging judge, Robert Maloney, retired now. He gave me 5 years probation. 3 years, he gave me an early release from my probation because of the things that I continue to do on behalf of the government and for other things. Hope. After 14 years, I knew I had gone through my last witness session because I had this blue suit that I always wore, and I looked down when I was in trial and I had a broken button on my suit. Now, to me, that meant a lot to me. It said to me, this is going to be your last trial, otherwise this button wouldn't be broken. I saw it as that. English, what is that? Is that a metaphor or a simile or something like that? Any English minors in here? Everybody yawns on the English part. And I thought it was all over with. 14 years later, he calls me. Because I did testify in the 14th year. It was over an estate matter. One of the other defendants that had died. The IRS was involved with it. After it was over with, and they won the case, and they thanked me for again helping them out. He called me. The FBI agent that prosecuted my case called me on the phone and said, "Would you meet me over at this restaurant in Bedford?" Anybody know where Bedford is? All right, mid-cities, between Dallas and Fort Worth. So I met him. We sat down, ordered iced tea, and he said, "I want you to know I want you here because I want you to know something." He said, "I've been in touch with the other agents that prosecuted your case at Vernon and other cases, other S&L cases. And I've also talked with Robert and Steve, the two Justice Department lawyers, and we're all in agreement. We're all in agreement that we should never have prosecuted you." Took me a minute or two to gather myself. But I swallowed hard and said, "Looks like you're buying lunch." He said, "We want to encourage you to make application for a presidential pardon." He said, "We don't know much about it, but we'll help you any way we can." Well, I went home and I thought about it. And I took a fairly long time thinking about it, almost a year, of whether I should or whether I should Because to file a application for pardon, it's gonna be like what our old friend Yogi Berra says, deja vu all over again. There was going to be another investigation. They were going to talk to my neighbors, my friends, my co-workers. You know, during those times I was a county housing authority board member. I was a school district board member. All of this, of course, needed to be investigated. Finally, in talking to Coach, my best guy, when I stood up for me in front of the judge, I called Coach and said, I can't decide whether I should do this or not. And he said, man, you got to do it. You got to do it. So I did. I filled out, hand wrote the application. I actually had to find a typewriter that I could buy off the internet so I could type up the application and send it off. They assigned me a pardon attorney, and her name was Hope McGowan, Washington, D.C. And every year they'd come Thanksgiving, they'd pardon that turkey. And I'd get on the phone and I'd call her up and I'd say, Ms. McGowan, is my application still there? Yes, Mr. Smith. Is it still working? Yes, Mr. Smith, but I can't tell you anything else, Mr. Smith. I knew that, but still I just wanted to make sure that they hadn't thrown it away, Didn't want it to be thrown away. A few years ago, I was in my Colorado home. At the time, phone rang a few weeks before Christmas. A voice said, Mr. Smith, this is Hope McGowan, pardon attorney's office. Yes, Miss McGowan. Mr. Smith, President Bush would like to wish you a Merry Christmas and grant you a presidential pardon. Just like that. End of conversation. Thank you. Tell the President Merry Christmas.